Hello and welcome back to the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's still my dad. It always will be my co-host. Dad, we're in the weeds right now, man. We're in the weeds.
Get the weed whacker.
We are in the top 50 free agents. We just did the top 10. And the bottom 40, Dad, the 11 through 51, 12 through 51 technically, will be our next big task to do. We're going to try to make this video educational, emotional with obviously our strong opinions, but also quick enough to move on to the next player or the candidate, whatever you want to say, free agent. Some maybe a minute, some maybe 4 minutes. We'll do our best. Dad, let's get right into it. We are talking Teoscar Hernandez first. Personally shocked he was this high on the list, even with a bad class of position players. Right before you came over, as Colleen would defend me, I switched Teoscar Hernandez to a different team. Who do you have him going to, Dad? And I'll tell you who I had.
There's some holes in the Angels lineup.
Okay.
With departures and everything. And, you read that Trout might get traded. So I think he'd be a great fit for the Angels, give them a little more offense. And the Angels have to do something to stay and try to improve on that record this year to try to get towards 500. I think he'd be a good buy. The Angels have to do something. He fits the bill of some power and some RBIs for the Angels.
Fantastic. The Angels were one of my finalist teams. They were not the team that I switched. I did have originally, as of 9:50 this morning, I had Toronto landing him again because they kind of need a right fielder, center fielder where Springer can switch or whatever. And they needed some offense, but I think a team that just needs a little bit more offense, and I think they're going to need a little bit more right field help. The World Series losers, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I greatly enjoyed watching them play with it. Just kind of like how the Phillies fell off offensively. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks just didn't have enough guns to the point. People are talking about a reunion with Tommy Pham left. Corbin's a right fielder. I think Corbin Carroll's a left fielder, and Teoscar is going to be the right fielder. I also see the White Sox making the same sort of sense as your Angels. You need somebody out there. But hopefully the idea of competing and being in the playoffs is enough for Teoscar because he kind of keeps skirting it. With the Blue Jays, I think he just saw the wild card round. The Mariners this year, he was one game away from making the playoffs. I think he wants to make a really strong drive, a playoff push next year, and he's got to be on a competitive team to do that.
I think we're both in a good idea, and I think he's going to go somewhere where he can be one of the stars. So, yeah, I think he's a good addition to any team.
Heimer or Jamer, still don't know.
Candelario.
Candelario, a third baseman extraordinaire, started his 1 year, $5 million stint with the Nationals, and then became a Cub midseason. Definitely has earned more than 1 year as a contract dad. Where's he going?
Blue Jays. He's taking
to replace Chapman.
Correct.
They were number 2 on my list, so we are very similar on that. I like it. Definitely is a good bat. Cheaper than Matt Chapman. I had Toronto 4 or 5 days ago. But then the Seattle Mariners traded Eugenio Suarez. And he goes into Seattle to sort of be the other Seager. What was his name? Corey's brother?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it was also started with a C. Kyle Seager was with a K. Kyle Seager was there for a decade.
Okay, got it.
And after his retirement, they need a more of a long-term third baseman. Eugenio Suarez, nice trial for the past 2 years, but I think Jamer is more of a stable, defensively and offensively, third baseman for Seattle.
Plays a little first base as well.
He could, and if Ty France, who has never had a full year, always has had some minor injury that's taken him out, he could go play first while France is recovering. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Dad, last year, Yuli Gurriel, we talked about this year. It's his younger brother, Lourdes. Where's he going?
He's going to Mariners because they could use a little more offense, and I think he'd be a good fit in Seattle.
Okay, playing left then?
I would think that'd be...
And then Kalanick goes to right?
I think so. Kelenic came up as a right fielder, by the way.
Kelenic came up as any outfielder, really, because he should have been able to play anything, but he hasn't lived up to that hype, that potential just yet. That Edwin Diaz trade looking pretty good for the Mets now.
Yeah.
I have him going to Houston. Houston has been looking for a stable left fielder, and where they can put Yordan in DH permanently. And they had his brother. Yuli's going to speak very highly of the organization. And Lourdes is young enough, Spanish, I believe Cuban.
He's Cuban.
So, and then you finally can get Chas McCormick in center, stable. I think he had a really good year. Start locking up these younger pieces now, like Kyle Tucker. But I think Lourdes Gurriel is one of the few moves that Houston does this offseason. It's a pretty put together team, so I think they can be really focused in adding a corner outfielder, specifically a left fielder. And I think Lourdes does kind of what a Michael Brantley would do, just a younger version of him. So I think they've really focused their efforts on signing Lourdes. Dad, I don't know anything about this next player, but Jung-Hoo Lee, a center field outfielder in Japan.
Lefty?
Left-handed hitting center fielder, so obviously New York immediately pops up if they don't get Bellinger. But who do you have for Lee?
San Diego.
So to replace Grisham?
Yes.
Where's the money coming from? Do we know?
They're supposed to trade Soto.
So you think Soto gets traded?
I
so
do.
You can sign Lee. Talk about a downgrade.
Yeah. I think, again, with that GM, I read an article, the GM is just pinging off the walls to make a trade, and apparently there's going to be multiple trades out of the Padres, and they're going to start from anew, and some of the big names are trying to clear out and everything. They need people to reinforce that. Again, a West Coast team, I think he does well there, and I think that he might end up giving them a little more offense, touch at the top of the order.
You know how we were talking about Amanaga needing a Japanese teammate? Well, Lee and Amanaga are now a package deal to San Francisco.
Okay. Just saying, Giants are doing quite well with you.
They have money to spend.
They must have got rid of some payroll then.
Well, I think getting rid of Kapler was a sign that you get a competitive manager. Just like the Cubs are saying, we're paying $8 million a year for Counsell. We're not going to miss out on a Chapman or a Snell.
It's a window.
It's a window.
I agree.
I really do think San Francisco has to attack the offseason. As San Diego is weaker, we have a chance.
They want to get wild card.
They want to get wild card. They're viewing it as Atlanta, Philly, in. I'm going to go ahead and just think Chicago wins the Central at this point. And then you have probably the Dodgers and arguably the Diamondbacks. You're looking for that sixth and final slot. You're competing against people like Miami and Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. If you're the San Francisco Giants in that market, how do you tell your fans, hey, we're going to lose to the Dodgers this year. Hey, we're not in the East. Yeah. We're not in the West.
Diamondbacks are young and upcoming.
And how do you tell your fan base that we lost to the Diamondbacks, the Reds, and the Marlins to make the playoffs? You have to be better than at least two of those teams.
Yeah.
So I do think they spend. And they can't get Shohei. We didn't get Shohei. Here's our trifecta.
Okay.
Dad, Jorge Soler, DH, still playing a little outfield, but mostly DH.
Apparently his defensive statistics are abominable.
Yeah, I mean, him or Castellanos, or not Castellanos, him and Schwarber, are best friends with their defense. They don't know where to put the glove on which hand. That's how bad their defense is. Do I throw it with my glove? Is it lacrosse?
It's like John Lester did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think he's a DH.
I think he's a DH with a team that severely needs more offense, Cleveland Indians. And I think he goes to the Indians and does a little bit of everything just to give them some power.
They made that mistake with Franmil Reyes a couple years ago, and it didn't work out. And I think Soler is better than Franmil, but I don't think Cleveland spends a lot. I think they trade, especially Bieber. I don't see Cleveland being competitive next year, or active in the free agency. I have him just re-signing. I don't have a very big, sexy pick.
Wow.
But
back to the Marlins.
Marlins still need the DH presence. They still need a big power bat. He was great in Miami. He's been there for multiple years.
And he's Cuban. So
yeah. So I don't think that one is going to be like a big, oh my God, you see Soler resign? And not going to be a big article.
I know he's looking for big money.
The next pick I do have, Dad, is a little wild. But Lucas Giolito, a starting pitcher, didn't have a great year this year. Ended up on 3 different teams. That waiver issue.
And went downhill each one.
Yes. he has always been on Ronaldo Lopez's like team, whether he was the National with him, was the White Sox. So there's a lot of people thinking Atlanta, but I have him staying in the NL East, but returning home to the Washington Nationals.
Wow.
It's not a sign of competitiveness. Just like how they signed Jamer last year to like a short-term deal to flip him, I think Giolito gets that, or maybe an option one, just to rebuild his value. He could kind of shine there. I mean, Gray and Gore and like just a Gray Gore Giolito type of thing. I think that could be kind of fun. Nats could have some sort of fun with it. Wouldn't be too expensive, and I do think they need some pitcher to eat innings. You know, they ended up getting Chad Kuhl this past year, and it didn't work out for them.
Your favorite.
I did like Chad Kuhl. I did.
He's out of baseball.
He is, sadly. But I think it's a little wild. What's your thoughts?
Orioles. All the things that you just mentioned. You need a starter, eat some innings, 1-year deal, and if you need to, you flip him at the deadline. I think he's a perfect fit for the Orioles because they lost Gibson.
So it's like a Kyle Gibson replacement.
Yeah, I think and you know what? When he's good, he's good. So I think they take a chance.
It's not a long contract.
No, 1-year deal.
Or you won an option, yeah.
Yeah.
Dad, Stroman is our next name on this list. Marcus Stroman, short extraordinaire, short king of the Chicago Cubs this year. Doesn't sound like he's going to resign with the Cubs. Where's he going?
Mets.
Back to the Mets.
Yes.
He was kind of critical of that organization when he left, though.
Yeah, but I think, you're talking about a fit. When you're talking about, he's a very athletic pitcher, by the way. Really a good defensive pitcher. He eats innings. He wins games. He just got hurt twice with the Cubs. I just think that when you look at, what the needs are, the Mets need pitching, especially 3, 4, 5. He fits the bill.
I'm still building my 2025 World Series team. So this is going to be the Dodgers. So this Marcus Stroman gets to be sort of the 1-2 punch with Bueller this year. Gets settled. He likes big cities, so that makes sense why he said New York. I don't think he's been out to L.A. I think he wants to try each kind of part of the country. He's done East Coast. He's done Central. Now he's going to do West. And then that 2025 rotation. In my world of worlds, so Ohtani, Bueller, Stroman, Kershaw, May, Gonsolin.
Yeah, you're talking. That's not fair.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
But I think and obviously like Stroman he's healthy. He'll play this year.
But Stroman didn't get along with the manager, who's no longer there.
Of the Mets. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he was very critical on Twitter. So I don't know. I just think you put him on a disciplined team, and I think the Dodgers are a disciplined team.
I think that's who Marcus is. I don't.
You think he's just a crazy guy?
Yeah, I think he's very opinionated.
Yeah,
how about that for a kind way of saying it?
Yes.
So yeah,
he attacks small podcasts on Twitter, so he might hear this.
Marcus, we're all ears, baby.
Yes, and you're all 5'5", so it all works out.
5'7".
Man,
George Costanza
on cleats and on the top of the pitching mound. Seth Lugo, Dad, another former Met.
Reds.
I have him going back to the Mets. I see the Reds. You're just throwing. You're saying the Reds are going to get pitching.
Well,
I'm going to pick all these people.
That's the last one, by the way. But yeah,
okay.
That ends up, he'd be a really good fit in Cincinnati. Kind of got a 3 and a 4 kind of starter. Eats innings. He'd probably compete in Cincinnati with a small ballpark. I just think it's a great fit.
I'm going to get tired of saying 1 year and an option, but Lugo and another guy that's going to go to the Mets in a couple of names. They need pitching for this year, and if he's really good, they'll pick up the option. Or if he's really good and they're sucking, they'll trade him at the deadline. So Seth Lugo to the Mets.
Okay.
Dad, JD Martinez, DH, only DH, does not play the field.
I got Mariners.
Okay, walk me through that one a little bit.
I think the Mariners are searching for pieces to make them a better offensive team. He could be like 5, 6, 7, lengthen the lineup a little bit. I think he might be a good fit there. And I'm thinking he's at the end of his career.
So like a Nelson Cruz?
Yeah, I just think he might be a good fit. And the Mariners are close, but I think they need a little more offense. And he could fit the bill.
So I thought like I had Mariners as a finale for Teoscar. I had them obviously getting Jamer. I had them in the mix for Soler. So you don't think they get a top name of those, and you think you settle on a JD?
I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I see it a little bit. I think just that organization trades a little bit more than signs. I think Jamer, I think, is my one of two signings, which is funny. The next one is Seattle for me. But I don't think they'll be. I don't know. I just think they'll find a cheaper version of a DH, like a Rowdy Tellez. But I have Arizona.
Huh.
So JD started his career as a Diamondback, I believe. And Teoscar taken right and JD taken DH gives two power bats to that lineup that has the speed and has, the defense, but they really lack power and clutch hitting. JD Martinez is one of the clutchest hitter in Boston's history. I mean, it goes Poppy and JD. I mean, he really knew how to get doubles. He knew how to put the ball different places.
He knew how to use that wall.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He had a great year in LA this year. I think Arizona, I have read a lot of reports that Arizona could add $50 million in payroll. So I have a $20 million Teoscar deal. I have a $20 million JD deal, and I'm going to have a $10 million deal for someone on the back page coming up.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I see Seattle. I don't see them, I guess, being as aggressive or spending at that level for a DH. I do have Seattle getting Jordan Hicks, though, to replace Paul Sewald in their bullpen. Thoughts on Jordan Hicks?
I am going a little bit crazy. I'm going Tigers. Tigers crept up in the Central. They need to put some more thinking. They have not a great bullpen whatsoever. I think they traded some guys at the deadline and everything. Jordan Hicks is looking for a team that will reestablish him. I think the Tigers give him that chance.
I think both teams that we've mentioned do actually develop good bullpens. The Tigers have been sneaky good with their bullpen. They've been trading pieces like Joe Jimenez in the past years. Their bullpen this year, despite losing as many games as they did, had a pretty solid ERA. Alex Lange
LSU.
It's a pretty good pitcher. Their bullpen is not their weak part of Detroit. Jordan Hicks would only strengthen that.
Yeah.
A fireballer out of the Motown, that's kind of fun.
Well, they need to build that. They got a new GM in Detroit that's slowly building them up. Mm-hmm. I think they'll add little pieces. I might be a heck of a fit.
I don't hate it. I can see it. Do you hate my Seattle pick?
No, I like the Mariners. I like the team they have. I think it's an exciting team, young team. I just think that they ran into the same thing the Cubs did. They got tired at the wrong time of the year, and I think that's what killed both those teams. Because the Mariners are like, they got this thing. How many games in a row did they win?
I don't know.
It was really good. And then all of a sudden, lack of bench. I think the pitching got a little tired, and then boom, all of a sudden they slipped because the Astros and Rangers got hot. Mm-hmm. So they're still a good team. Mariners seem to get a little bit better every year. So I like the Mariners.
Cool. I'm glad we don't have any crazy picks yet. Jack Flaherty. Unique case. Kind of in my Lucas Giolito conversation where you're looking to reestablish your value because Giolito and Flaherty were really good young pitchers. Like 24, 25, they could have signed an extension. I want to say Flaherty was like a Cy Young candidate one year.
He was the pitcher in St. Louis.
And after he got traded from St. Louis to Baltimore, he got even worse. He had a really rough ERA in Baltimore in a couple starts.
Went to the bullpen.
I think this is one of the few Angel additions that happen and reestablish value, see if you get traded, etc., etc. I still like sneaky Braves to try to fix them, especially if they don't get Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
But Flaherty to the Angels, Dad.
You know what? Again, with Flaherty, has been a shoulder, and it seems like the pitchers that have shoulder injuries never rebound 100%. But I had the Tigers give him a chance. I think he would probably do well. It's another team that's going to roll the dice, and if it doesn't work out, they'll trade him. But the Tigers have some money. They had some payroll that came off the books. The the first baseman, came off the books. He was getting what, $25 million a year.
Miguel Cabrera's making $40 million a year.
That's a lot of money off the books.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they have some money.
Something crazy, yeah.
And they need to put it in a pitching staff, and some, and they have some other holes there as well. But I think they give him a chance and go from there.
Mitch Garver is our next name on our list. Catcher DH, kind of did both for Texas last year. Still can catch, but good hitter. Dad, who kind of needs a catcher DH split?
How about the Red Sox?
How about the Red Sox? I got the Red Sox as well. I'm gonna get some more water. You tell the people at home why Mitch Garver's a good Red Sox choice.
I think just through that green wall. I think that when his background is he's a pull hitter. And I'm thinking, what better place for a pull hitter than Boston? And the other thing too is he can catch it a little bit. The Red Sox have a humongous hole at catcher. He would be a perfect fit for Boston. If Boston's going to climb in the standings, they got a lot of holes to fill. Catcher may be number one.
Connor Wong was serviceable this year for the Red Sox. However, a seasoned veteran like Mitch Garver, who could obviously DH when Connor's catching, I'm sure, being the pretty much full-time catcher for the Red Sox last year, Connor probably earned the respect of a few of the pitchers, so he might have when Pivetta pitches, he really likes, Wong, then Garver could DH that day. But I absolutely love that pick for Boston. They have Mitch money. They have that Garver green. I'm staying with it. Mitch Garver to the Red Sox. Thank you for making sense.
Red Sox revenue?
Sox spend. But yeah, no, I like Mitch Garver, multi-year contract, hopefully.
I'm with you. He was good in the playoffs. So, he had a good career with the Twins, too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I liked him as the Twins.
Yeah.
By the way, couldn't find a water, so it's a beer this early.
It's okay. It's a football day, so you're fine.
Dad, former Red Sox, Michael Wacha.
Perfect fit for the Chicago Cubs.
I like Wacha for anyone. I think he's one of the most underrated players on this list. I think him and Teoscar Hernandez should switch on this list. Tell me why the Cubs.
Eats innings.
He's better than eats innings. He's a low ERA.
I'm with you 100%. He knows the Central. I like it because of that reason. Going back to that. And don't forget, the Cubs are going to improve that pitching staff, and they want, 5 strong starters, especially they don't have an ace. And they have maybe a 2-3, but they're really looking 4, 5, 6. He kind of fits the bill, and I think he's a ground ball pitcher, perfect for Wrigley with their defense. I think he's a great fit.
I got Wacha to the Mets. Same with Lugo. Same situation, 1 year with an option. I really like the Mets, I guess my predicted rotation, where they got Senga, they got Wacha, they got Lugo, they got Quintana, and I'm sure some young guy like McGill or somebody else rounding out the order. It's not the Scherzer, Verlander, Sextonus, or dreamed of Cohen pitching
$40
rotation.
million a year.
But I think it's a very good rotation for what the Mets anticipate to do in 2024.
And if they fall apart, they trade.
Exactly. And in 2025, they can go get other people. So I think both of these players are going to be on a 15-year, 1 year with an option that's for 12 or something like that for the 2025. Dad, Kenta Maeda,
I think
Japanese pitcher, but has been here plenty of years.
I haven't did the Twins.
Staying with the Twins,
Yeah.
even though they said are cutting payroll.
I'm thinking they can't afford to lose him, to be quite honest.
They're losing Gray.
Yeah,
That's a bigger loss.
But do they lose 2 and have their starting rotation decimated?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna say it here first. The AL Central winner next year has an under 500 record.
That's a hell of a statement.
I know. I think it'll be a 496, 492 winning percentage.
But don't forget they play Kansas City.
I know,
Okay.
but they also play the majority of the league.
I know. Now
Twins only were 7 games above 500 this year.
I know.
It's not going to lose 8
and
more.
And they won in the teens.
Right.
I know. It was pretty bad.
So I looked into why the Twins are cutting payroll after going to the playoffs, winning a postseason series for the first time in 20 years. Well, for people that know Maryland, Masson, or the Yes Network or anything like that, every MLB team sort of has a TV station that carries them and shows their games.
And ESN.
Right. Well, the Twins network is dropping the Twins. They have fallen out. The physical network itself is bankrupt. It's almost like if Masson or Yes or NES goes bankrupt. So as of right now, the Twins do not have a TV service to put their games on. A.k.a. there's no
huge loss of revenue.
Exactly. There's no TV revenue.
I didn't know that.
Minnesota also cold, so they're going to lack tickets in April, May, and September, but definitely April, May. So you are projecting that I need to cut a lot of money because I may not be able to afford my team. We could have 5 sellers in the AL Central next year, and I'm not kidding about that. The Guardians don't seem to want to win. They're talking about trading Bieber. The White Sox are openly in a rebuild because they got I can't wait to get into the offseason outlook. I'm getting too far down it right now. Twins will be actively trading people. I think they will still sign a couple names because there's clear glaring holes on the roster. But I don't think they re-signed any of their pitchers. Maeda goes to the Dodgers to fully add to that.
Asian.
Not just that. I think it adds to that rotation.
Yeah, but 1 year deal though.
I think it's a 1 year with an option. I know I keep saying that. I don't know if he's in the long-term plans for the Dodgers, but again, May is hurt next year. If they end up re-signing Kershaw or whatever, he's not playing. Ohtani's not pitching. They need someone to take the ball. Buehler is coming off TJ. I think Gonsolin is hurt too. I don't know how.
Yeah. Gonsolin may miss the year from what I
Well, there we
remember.
go. Yeah. So, I mean, someone to replace these until 2025 comes healthy.
Interesting.
So, Kenta Maeda comes back to the Dodgers. Dodgers have just a great pitching coach and bullpen coach where they can really tap into the strength of these players.
And it's LA with the weather. Mm-hmm. There's no cold weather to hurt your arm.
Yes. Now, speaking of the Twins, you said Maeda to
Twins stays with the Twins.
That's right. I have 2 Twins signings, and one of them is Rhys Hoskins.
Interesting.
And the reason being is he's going to be cheap. Rhys Hoskins, coming off a year where he was completely, injured, missed the whole year, could be a first baseman, could be a DH, almost like a better Miguel Sano, if you remember him from the Twins history. He also really works for the Nationals for the same reason. If he has a bounce-back year, the Twins could trade him. Or, again, 1 year with an option. But who do you have? The
Cubs.
I have a trade candidate going to the Cubs. But if that trade candidate doesn't happen, Hoskins will get more money from Chicago than Minnesota.
Perfect field for him, especially when the wind's blown out. And, again, they really need a first baseman.
Yes, they do.
If their trades don't happen, I think he's a fallback if the trades don't happen.
Yeah.
But what a great addition. And I think, again, add to that infield. And now the Cubs have one of the best infields in the National League.
A safe pick because who knows what the Cubs are going to trade for and are able to make those trades. So
you have Rhys going to where again?
Minnesota.
Okay. Alrighty.
Like a really cheap deal. I don't know why he's 26 on this list type of thing.
I think potentially he had coming off a good year.
The thing is, Rhys will hit you 30 home runs, get you 90 RBIs, but strike out 160 times. Perfect Philly, but he was
look up the leadoff batter.
Yeah,
hit the 196.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Dad, next 2 on this list are relief pitchers. Don't deserve this high on the list.
That's how weak the class is.
Robert Stevenson and Yariel Rodriguez. Yariel has been in Cuba and then Japan and finally coming to America. Robert Stevenson has bounced around a couple teams, mostly with the Reds.
I had to look him up.
I had to look both these guys up. So our picks, don't bet any money on.
They could go.
We don't know what we're doing with these 2 names. Dad, Robert Stevenson, just throw at the wall and see if it sticks.
Mets, because the Mets are losing some bullpen pieces. Robertson for one. I think he takes his place. And again, the Mets bullpen was not good last year.
Yeah, I don't think either of these players will be a closer. I think they'll be just. I think Stevenson has some innings. Yariel Rodriguez can throw some innings.
I think they both wait till February to get signed, to tell you the truth.
I don't know.
Yeah.
TBD on those 2 guys. But I have St. Louis. I don't know who the hell is in St. Louis's bullpen anymore. I think they lost some people this year with their trades, like Chris Stratton. Remember my Bednar and Stratton comments with the Pirates? They lost Stratton. So I think they tap into that. Bednar, by the way, is now one of the best closers in baseball. So call that.
That is true.
That and Yariel Rodriguez, I have a White Sox.
Law firm.
The law firm. I have the White Sox getting Yariel because of a Cuban connection. They got a lot of Cubans on that team.
I'm going across the highway that we know so well.
See, now you're just throwing Cubs at everybody.
No, the bullpens are their weakest link. So right
That's
now they got to have probably 5 bullpen additions, and I think he's one of them. And I think he makes a good fit.
So anybody that is relief pitcher from here on out, you're going to say Cubs,
No.
Cubs.
No. I
okay.
think David Robertson, who's not on our list, ends up back with the Cubs because he loves Chicago so much. So
He's a great pitcher.
You had Rodriguez going where again?
White Sox, and then Stevenson, Cardinals.
I got it. Okay. I'm making copious notes. Okay.
The next reliever, Dad, can't go to Chicago because he's already been signed by Atlanta.
I know. I got going to Atlanta.
Ronaldo Lopez off the list. Not talking about him.
Yeah, that was quick, by the way.
It was, and they have thoughts to make him a starter. I don't think it happens. I think he's a long relief.
Yeah. Keep him where. I mean,
He was a starter for the Nationals.
He's got a funky little, side, action and all that stuff. Perfect for a relief. But I think he was a starter at one point. So yeah.
Mike Clevenger, good pitcher, has baggage, has some domestic violence allegations. Teams that are clean of that want to stay away from him. Like the Dodgers, after the Bauer thing, are just going to go, no, thank you.
What a waste of career.
We'll talk about Bauer lader openly.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Bauer later. Dad, where's a team that Mike Clevenger could go to?
I'm Angels.
So do I! Because they don't give a shit about the player they sign as long as they fill the hole in their roster.
You're talking about a franchise with all the resources it has and cannot get a winning record no matter what they do. It just befuddles me to look at them and the stars they've had that have either been injury prone or whatever. They can't get a winning record.
Yeah, I think it's a longer contract, kind of like I think that they gave Tyler Anderson after his stint with the Dodgers. He's a good pitcher, but it doesn't click.
Yeah, with the Indians, he was pretty good.
I have the Diamondbacks as a backup because everybody's in jail in Arizona for domestic violence. I'm just making sure all the fan bases hate me by the end of the day.
You're doing well so far.
Right? Isn't Phoenix and New Mexico, all those areas? But no, I have the Angels. But I just wanted to. Don't worry, Arizona. I got a couple. I got JD Martinez and Teoscar signing with you, so don't hate me. Dad, Kevin Kiermaier. I don't like him as a person, but he's a great center fielder.
Oh, you've never liked him.
Never liked Kevin Kiermaier. One of the biggest egotistical people in baseball.
Where do people with big egos go?
Chicago.
New York. I have him going to Yankees for their center field.
He's a righty.
I know that, but talking about defensively,
where the hell's Cody Bellinger playing?
He's going to probably either do left field.
No, he won't.
Well, whatever. But I think Kiermaier could make a good fit with them. I don't think he returns to the Blue Jays.
He goes to the Cubs.
Really?
He teaches PCA how to be a defender.
For 1 year. Oh, that's pretty good thinking.
1 year, $10 million, whatever. I don't care.
That's pretty good thinking.
You're automatically like, shit, he's not going to New York after Cody Bellinger signed with them.
Now I got somebody else playing center field for the Cubs next year.
Okay,
but same thought process. But yours makes some sense.
I talked about defense earlier when you signed Chapman, and I went Blake Snell because of all the defense he'll have behind him.
Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier, PCA is young. Sure, comparisons to Trout, that's a tough thing to live up to.
He's not that big.
Who knows how he's going to be?
He's going to be a leadoff hitter with speed. Go ahead.
Does that all click in 2024? For a team that wants to contend, it's unlikely.
He's AAA.
So I think he'll be on the roster. I just don't know if he'll start the season on the roster.
We'll see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get his confidence up. Kiermaier is at an age where hopefully he's starting to learn that he needs to teach and give back to players. But then he has Kiermaier and Happ in the same outfield. Suzuki can just play the line if he has to.
He's not a bad outfielder.
No, I know that, but his arm is not a strong right field arm, in my opinion.
Correct.
It's like I don't know. It's average. It's an average right fielder.
It's not Andre Dawson out there.
Sure. But I really like that. New York was on my list, Dad, as a backup in case Cody signs elsewhere.
Okay.
But not a priority target for the Yankees. I think that would shock Yankee fan bases if they got Kevin Kiermaier and not Cody Bellinger.
Big center field in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, and
that's why Judge couldn't do it.
I thought Judge made a serviceable center fielder, but you're right. It's not. That's right. He does bat left. He throws right, so he could work for New York. I thought he was right. He just throws right, but he bats left.
Yeah.
He could work for New York. Dad, Nick Martinez, a starter reliever.
I got him with Padres.
So staying with the Padres.
Yeah.
That adds up. He was taken kind of from Japan or Korea after 5 years. I have Cubs.
Interesting.
And I have Cubs as a reliever.
Okay.
Again, I have Snell kind of
You're
padding that.
getting to be pro Cubs here, I can see, with your picks.
Again, I told you about the foaming at the mouth thing. If the Cubs don't have an active offseason, I think Cub fans should leave. Like,
I think they've given they opened up the gate for him.
yes.
So I think Jed's going to do a good job spending that money.
I mean, Nick Martinez is like an underrated signing. Sure, he could start. He could be an opener. He could be long relief. You said earlier they need bullpen help. I think Nick Martinez kind of slots into a relief role for them more than a starter, unless someone gets injured. But kind of can swing both ways. You had San Diego. Okay. Dad, Aroldis. I don't have this guy going to the Cubs. Aroldis Chapman.
He's not welcome.
Nor New York. Aroldis Chapman.
I have him going back for a reunion of all places, Cincinnati.
They have Diaz's brother.
Right, but I'm just...
Oh, so as a reliever, not a closer.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think he went back with the Rangers. I think he was so-so. He
was okay.
Yeah, okay. And I'm thinking that, he might have 1 or 2 years left, but I'm thinking the Reds making a push, he really add to that bullpen.
Dad, who is the White Sox closer?
Great question.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Because Hendricks was non-tendered, I believe. Or not re-signed. I don't remember if he was non-tendered.
Remember when the White Sox had 2 closers?
Remember when the White Sox had the best bullpen in baseball?
All gone.
I have him as a White Sox. Primarily because they have discipline. And Aroldis Chapman thrives in a world without discipline.
Barely shows up for...
he left the Yankees organization before their playoff run last year. Said, I don't want to compete for a playoff spot. And he went, well, yeah, everyone has to. And he went, nah, and just left the roster. Seems like a White Sox already.
Yeah.
They're going to ask, it's going to happen.
It's on the prerequisite sheet.
If he gets signed as a White Sox, this will happen in 2024. Mark my words. They're going to go to the pen, right? They're going to ask for Chapman. And Chapman will not be in the bullpen. And the manager's going to go,
He'll be in the center field bleachers in that little picnic area getting a hot dog or a taco or something.
It's
that's pretty good.
White Sox.
I know.
They will spend money. I know they're in a rebuild, and we'll get to the AL Central's offseason outlook soon. But they have so many holes. They really don't have, even a full 40-man roster. So they do need to sign some people.
Yeah.
Dad, Michael Lorenzen, starter reliever. I like him more as a starter openly at this point.
No-hitter last year.
Did throw a no-hitter for Philly. Does not seem to be re-signed by Philadelphia. Outside the no-hitter, had a rough go.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts?
D-backs.
So, same! Oh, my God! They were in trade rumors for him. And obviously he went to Philly. But I like rounding out the order, being like a third, fourth guy after Fott.
Yeah.
They need pitching. I think he'll be affordable, but that's my 3-piece trifecta for the Diamondbacks. Teoscar, J.D. Martinez, and Michael Lorenzen.
That's nice additions.
I just like to make fun of your state.
Nice additions.
I think that's enough to get them back in the playoffs. No, they won't win the West, and it could be a second or third place finish.
Yeah.
Dad, this is my first agreement with you. Possibly, at least my logic, Sean Manaea.
I got Pirates.
I have him on the Reds. I thought you were going to say the Reds with all your pitchers.
I think he needs to reestablish himself.
Same for the Reds.
Okay. But the Pirates have a whole bunch of openings. I think he would thrive in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a really good first half of the year and then fell apart. I just think he'd be a good fit there, and he's left-handed, and I can't think of another left-handed starter for the Pirates right now.
I know we've had plenty of matches, folks. I was just saying, he kept saying Cincinnati, Cincinnati, Cincinnati. I'm like, we're going to line up at some point.
I'm done with Cincinnati.
Ah, damn it. I actually really like Sean Manaea as a pitcher. I think whoever signs him is going to do a great job. If the Orioles go bottom of the barrel, don't want top-end starters, don't even want to trade, I think Sean Manaea is an Oriole. But I think they should get people like Erod or trade for really high-quality pitchers.
That's a great thought with the Oriole matchup and everything else. Again, you just don't know about the spending pattern of the Orioles. But again, I just think that, He had talent when he came out of college. I think first round draft choice. He just hasn't reached, a top of the rotation yet. But for 3-4 guy, beautiful.
Harrison Bader, one of my favorite players. Center fielder. Could be a fourth outfielder, but let's see how you view him.
Cubs. That's why I have playing center field for the Cubs.
So a defensive.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So at least we have the same logic there.
Yeah.
I have a cheap deal to the Twins. I think both teams are going to benefit. This is also the guy during COVID, acted as a substitute teacher after the season went over because there was such a need for substitute teachers.
Yeah.
He was a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
So whatever city gets this guy, you get a really good person.
Tremendous athlete, by the way.
When he was a Yankee, he would go to other Yankee sports games to support other New York sports. Like I don't think he knows that shit about hockey, but he went to like a Islanders game or a Rangers game, and supported him.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the city of St. Louis really loved him and how he played, and I mean,
Yeah, I did.
And in New York, I thought he covered the ground really well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Dad, I'm thinking about Tyler Mahle. He's our next name on the list. A red twin. Again, that could be another loss for the Twins here. Where's he going?
I got Nationals as a flip candidate.
Okay, so like how I view Giolito.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, he definitely has a strong bounce back. Hopefully he could rebuild some value.
The Nationals improved this year, by the way.
They did much better than what they exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
I have a flip candidate, but just like Jordan Lyles went out to Kansas City, so does Tyler Mahle. Both are
first Kansas City mention, by the way.
Only Kansas City mentioned, by the way. They do need a pitcher with Greinke, I think, departing and retiring, even though he hasn't announced it yet, just like Votto. They kind of need that level of replacement pitcher. And I think Tyler Mahle's that guy. The money they gave Greinke, they can give to Mahle. That I do think the Nationals repeat their third baseman pick. They do a 1-year, $5 million contract to Gio Urshela and flip them at the deadline. Your thoughts?
I got Blue Jays.
They do need a third baseman.
Yeah.
Because you have Chapman going to the Cubs.
Correct.
Okay, cool. By the way, I said earlier in the 1 through 10 draft who the Cubs were going to get as a third baseman. I think they're going to get Eddie Escobar. He's not on this list.
Okay.
I think he's kind of a utility guy. He can, move around if needed.
As if he's available.
He is available. But there's another second base or third baseman on the trade options. Cubs are going to be linked to Brandon Drury, but not end up getting him. I think.
How heck of an addition.
Yeah, he would. He would. Dad, sort of just a good defense. Offense is not there, but Ahmed Rosario.
I had a hard time with him.
Me too.
Pick. I got him going to the Marlins.
Yeah, that's on the list for me.
And just because, he had such a bright future with the Indians, and then kind of like, he just kind of disappeared. But I'm thinking the Marlins could use him defensively along the way, so I put him at the Marlins.
I think that makes sense. I put him as the Angels to help Neto. Don't forget how quickly Zach Neto went through the minor leagues.
Less than a year.
He can't defensively be there yet. So I think Ahmed Rosario is like a middle infield help for Neto. And don't forget with Wash out being the coach of the Angels, he loves infielders. So I think
he was an infielder.
Right, exactly. He's make a great infield coach.
Yeah.
I think he'll really try to get young infield or not just good infielders, and Ahmed Rosario meets that requirement. Speaking of good infielders, Whit Merrifield.
I got him going to Boston.
I would love that, but I think Boston's going to trade for a second baseman.
Okay.
They are definitely listed as my backup. I have Toronto. I think he fit there. I think after they lose out on Chapman and they lose out on Teoscar, and I don't know if they have any other free agents, but they lose out on a couple people, they got to be like, just give me back Whit. And they save Whit.
He did well with the Blue Jays.
He did. He can play second base. He can play outfield. And it makes sense.
Got a little speed.
It's kind of a speedy team. You know, everyone but Vladdy.
Don't ask me to run the first.
No.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good ad. So just a re-sign there for me. Justin Turner, great year in Boston. Older player. Like I said, I don't think Boston's going to get him. I think they go a different way with Mitch Garver. Who gets a older DH, Dad?
I have it going Marlins.
He's on my list. I think that makes sense if they don't get Jorge Soler.
Yeah.
I have the Mets Same flipping
Interesting.
situation. Yeah. And I think he was a Met before
He was.
he became a Dodger.
Yeah, that's when the Orioles had
Yeah.
him, and then he went and got drafted. I think it was a Rule 5 draft after a while. But yeah, he played a couple years at New York and then went to LA.
But you can see my thought, and again, I could be completely wrong in this, that the Mets are targeting either older players that only want 1 or 2 more years,
And flip.
or candidates that want like a bounce back option.
Yeah.
That want an option. So you have Miami, makes sense. Mets for me. Okay, cool. Jason Hayward, dad,
I got
former
him
Cub.
staying in LA.
I think that makes sense. They need bench,
And leadership.
4th outfielder. I have Toronto for the same reasons.
Interesting.
They they need bench. They need flashes of
But
defense.
don't forget, he's been in the National League for a long time.
I know. So why can't he switch it up at the end of his career?
Yeah.
And maybe Toronto pays more. It's not something I would bet money on at all, but it's just I think the Blue Jays miss out on Brandon Belt, and Jason Hayward is sort of like the slightly better alternative to Brandon Belt.
Bench guy.
Bench guy.
Okay.
Yeah, not a full-time starter. Don't know shit about Yuki Matsui. He's a relief pitcher coming out of Japan. I had the Mets dad just because of Senga.
I have him at the Cubs because they need a left-handed reliever in the worst way.
Okay.
So, yeah, apparently, again, one of the prerequisites is someone there with Japanese background, so it might be the one.
Makes sense. They need bullpen in Chicago.
Yeah.
Frankie Montas, dad.
Yeah, was the last great pitcher of Oakland. I have him going to the Nationals for one and flip.
I have San Francisco being fixed because they seem to always fix these pitchers, whether it's Alex Cobb, Gossman, Rodon. Frankie Montas gets fixed in San Francisco. But again,
And he's from the Bay Area. I mean, was in the Bay Area with Oakland.
he gets reunited with Chapman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot of San Francisco. I know that. But they have money, and they failed last offseason. They got an F from me.
And they got a good GM. They have a real good GM.
Mm-hmm. Dad, Brandon Belt, I already said Toronto misses out on him, so I don't have him going back to Toronto. Where do you have him going?
Going to Brewers for first base DH.
First base DH. Okay, kind of like to be the Jack Bowers opposite. Okay.
Yeah.
I have Texas. I think Brandon Belt, if I recall, was on those young World Series teams of San Francisco.
Yes.
And then he fell off. Obviously, the Giants did not have the same strength post like 2015. And I think this is his last year, and I think he wants to see the playoffs again. So he's going to go to a contender, and they need a little bopper. I mean, he's got a little power still. And I think Brandon Belt could be that guy.
Veteran leadership, young team. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hector Neris, I think one of the most underrated relievers on this list. Phenomenal year last year with Houston. Don't think they re-signed him because they got so many people in their bullpen already. Who gets Hector Neris?
I got Twins, but that was just, trying to fill in the blanks and I didn't know the Twins were in such financial peril. So I thought that'd be a great fit and it would give them that good, pitcher at the end of the bullpen. But again, what you said, they may not be in the mix with a lot of players. So that's what that is.
Do you want to stick with the Twins or you want to change it?
I'm going to stick with the Twins because that's what I did. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay. I like the Yankees. I think they watched Neris for a couple years dominate them from the Houston bullpen, and I think they're tired of it. I think they're going to get a key piece of their bullpen via free agency, and I think it's Hector Neris. My backup is Philly, a reunion there, but yeah, I have someone else going to Philly. He's not on the list, so I'll just say it. I have Will Smith going to Philadelphia.
With or without his wife?
Ha 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 ha! The white Will Smith, the pitcher Will Smith. But Hector Neris is going to get paid coming out of Houston. I'm thinking like 335, 36. Jacob Junis, we're moving on. Earlier you had Sean Manaea going to Pittsburgh. I have Jacob Junis going to Pittsburgh for the same reasons.
Okay.
Underrated pitcher, not going to get the big looks from the big names, and therefore ends up in like a Pittsburgh. Or I said Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, and could flip easily with Sean Manaea.
Okay, I got him with Padres just because I think They could be a good fit and a flip candidate if the season for the Padres goes downhill in a hurry. They got a lot of injuries.
That's my thought with Luis Severino, a San Diego guy. I think Severino could also be for a Frankie Montas situation where they fixed a former Tommy John injury pitcher. A lot of these Manaea, Junis, Severino, and Montas kind of all could end up on the same team for me. So I had Junis to Pittsburgh. You had Junis to San Diego. Severino to San Diego, and who do you have for Severino?
I have the team that needs as many pitchers with problems as they can handle. I'm going to go to White Sox.
No, they're going to get Domingo Germán. They want an alcoholic in the clubhouse.
Well, I just think, Severino really had a tough year. And then I'm thinking the way the White Sox are doing bargain basements right now with small deals and everything, I'm thinking it's a perfect candidate. Sure. And I think that GM is trying to load the roster with players, going to give them a second chance, and hope for the best. So I can see just a hodgepodge in the South Side of Chicago.
I'm never going to get tired of saying Chris Guest gets blank, just because that last name is so perfect for a GM. It's just, I love it.
Yes, I got it. It's good. He's got a tough job ahead of him.
Yes, well, I mean, the owner, again, I really want to do the offseason outlook for the AL Central. The owner is the same owner that had the Bulls during their...
Yes.
And he was like, we should go into a rebuild. After winning 6 championships in 8 years.
He broke up the team.
Time for a rebuild. And I think he's going to do that with the White Sox. Yeah. So I don't see... It could, but it would be a 1-year contract to flip.
Egotistical man.
Yes. Rich man, but yes.
Yeah.
Does not like going to weddings. Liam Hendriks, former White Sox. Hard to predict. He's out all next year with Tommy John. Tough, past couple years for Liam Hendriks. Gets cancer, survives cancer, gets back on the field, tears something, has to have Tommy John. I mean, he's tired of hospitals.
You know what? It has to be a team that's going to take a chance. I have Red Sox.
I like the Red Sox for him. I really do.
Because if he comes back, he's going to be a star.
I think, obviously Liam does not care if he's a closer or not, but Kenley Jansen, a phenomenal closer, and I think he has 2 more years of his contract with Boston, but I'll double check. I like Liam Hendriks to come back 2025 with the Phillies. So he gets signed to a 2-year contract by Philly. They kind of tread water this year. Maybe they pick up a David Robertson or they pick up some, just some bullpen pieces. Closure by committee almost. But I think Liam Hendriks is a good Philadelphia choice. Will Smith is going to be in that contention too. But Liam Hendriks to the Phillies kind of makes sense. Kind of has that personality that fits in with Philly.
You felt bad for Will Smith because he was picked up on waivers twice, towards the end of the year, and I think it was the last day you could pick up a player. He ended up with the Marlins.
No, he ended up with Texas Rangers. He's won.
Yes.
3 World Series in a row, so it's like a good luck charm for some people. He'll get signed.
Yeah, but he got let go, and then also got picked up when it was in that August time frame, and then all of a sudden didn't work out with the Marlins. They put him DFA'd and got picked up. So, yeah. So I thought that was tough. He had to move twice.
Another White Sox theme is present here is Tim Anderson.
And not a good fighter.
Not a good fighter. Borderline MVP candidate in previous years. One of the best memories in recent baseball history in the Field of Dreams home run. He does. He's earned that.
Yeah.
No home runs for over a year. Don't know what happened. Loses a fight. Obviously does hit a few home runs later in the season. Has said he's willing to play second base. I still think he's a better shortstop. Dad, where's Tim Anderson going?
You know what? I had a hard time with this one. I have him going to the Angels just because he needs...
Any problems, put on the Angels.
Well, you know what? I just think that they need to do whatever. Their infield is not the best infield.
That's why I had him at Rosario going there.
Okay.
Yeah. And you had Rosario to the Marlins? Rosario was 39.
39, next page. I have him going to the Marlins.
So I have Tim Anderson go to the Marlins. So we're just flipped on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, I just think that he went through a pretty tough year. Right now, he's not wanted by a whole bunch of teams. He's going to be, a spring training addition for somebody. So I have the Angels.
I think he gets signed before spring training. But
he was a first round draft choice.
I know. I'm just saying the Marlins are going to need middle infield because John Birdie is not a starting shortstop, and then they've also talked about moving Luis Ariz off of second base to DH because he's defensively awful.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But they could both go to Miami, be the second base shortstop combo. Dad, we are down to 2 honorable mentions and a tiebreaker question, real easy tiebreaker question. We have plenty of honorable mentions here, guys. We came up with Hunter Renfroe, Jock Peterson, Craig Kimbrell, Clayton Kershaw, Will Smith. I also threw in, Dad, I know we're not going to choose these names. IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Joey Wendell, Kike Hernandez, and Brandon Woodruff. We narrowed it down just to choose 2 because 2 of the top 50 have been replaced and have already been signed. So we chose Jock Peterson and Craig Kimbrell to sort of be in the 49th, 50th spots. Let's talk Jock first, Dad. Can play a little left field, can DH, 1-year contract. Jock Peterson, where's he going?
Mariners.
I like that. So you have a lot of outfielders going, or is he DH?
He could do both, and plus he plays a little first base.
You're padding the
Correct.
Seattle outfield right now.
And that's left-handed.
I have the Mets. Again, 1-year contract. If he's good, I think I do have him playing more left field than DHing, but he can flip around. Won't be that expensive. There was a Will Smith luck charm for a couple years. Everyone thought there was a Jock Peterson luck charm. So we'll see where his team ends up in August. But I think whoever signs him flips him. I don't think he signs with the contender.
All right, he is a hired gun, and he's got a nice little bat. He can get hot at the right time, and plus he's a funny guy, and he's really good for the clubhouse.
Sneaky would like him for Boston if all of what I said about Mitch Garver doesn't work out. Craig Kimbrell, our last name on this list. Closer, phenomenal past, rookie of the year in the past. I'm sure he's got Cy Young votes in the past. World Series rings. Has not been stable the past couple of years with the Cubs and the White Sox and the Phillies. Where's he end up in 2024?
This is a team that could use a closer for 1 year or an eighth inning guy for 1 year. Orioles.
I have the Orioles as well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. As Felix Bautista heals from Tommy John, Kimbrell makes a lot of sense because they're not going to spend a lot of money. They won't link up with Hader. Sorry, Orioles fans. They're not going to make this big splash on a closer. But I don't know what Kimbrell gets. 1 year, $8 million. If the Orioles somehow aren't competitive, which I think they will be, they'll trade him. But I think they will be competitive.
But he's a veteran in the
playoff
clubhouse.
experience is what they need in all aspects of the game.
Yeah.
In their lineup, in their starting rotation, and in their bullpen.
And the fans will love him with the...
I hope so. That could be a fun bobblehead.
Yeah.
They should make a bobble arm instead of a bobblehead.
Very good. Be in marketing.
Dad, in the rare situation, we've never tied. In the history of doing this, we've never tied. We've always won by a couple. You won by a lot last year. Largest margin, I'll beat them to it. Largest margin ever was last year. My tiebreaker question is, does Trevor Bauer sign with an MLB team basically pre-opening day?
No.
I'll take yes. There we go. If we both said yes, we both said no, I was going to go AL or NL.
Okay.
But that is our tiebreaker. So if we end up with 7 each apiece and Bauer never signs, Kev will win. And then if he does, I think a team like Cincinnati or the White Sox, honestly. I
could see with the White Sox.
Yeah, like they would take a flyer on this guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a weird guy. He was found innocent in multiple trials, and now he's resuing the girl for defamation. It just seems like a lot, but we'll see. I mean, he had a pretty good year in Japan, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. He has talent. He's
psycho. He's just a weird kid. You know how he trains in baseball? Sorry, thanks for watching for an hour, but this is fun. How he practices?
No.
So he says the only thing you ever need to be a good pitcher is a baseball and a Sharpie. And he'll color in a part of the baseball that he needs to focus on. So if he says, I'm going to throw a circle change, then he'll black in the circle part of it. And then when he throws it, he has such good vision. He's able to see how well that circle's moving. And if he needs to move his fingers around or anything like that. Same thing when he throws different pitches. He has a whole YouTube channel about it. And he will teach anyone that all you need is a Sharpie and a baseball. And whatever kind of pitch you're throwing, you can focus on that black part of the ball as it spins, or to grip it when you are pitching in your glove.
Now I think he's the same guy that when the manager came
Francona, he threw it over the fence. This is also the guy that warms up with 400-foot throws. He, when he was with the Cleveland Indians coming up young, he would start. Well, obviously he'd work up to it, but eventually he was throwing pole to pole, and he would have his catcher go in the left field pole.
That's remarkable.
And he could throw it.
Pedro used to come close to that, by the way.
But
we saw that.
I'll show you a video after offline. But Bauer has a fantastic arm, and honestly probably could be an outfielder if he wasn't a pitcher.
Wow.
But I think some team takes a chance on him. I don't care if it's a minor league invitation to spring training. That counts because a major league team is issuing that contract. But no, I think someone touches him. I think someone brings him in.
Okay.
It may not work, but I think someone takes a chance.
Professional sports, if you get blackballed, you get blackballed. You know?
I don't know. Japan took a flyer on him. I would argue that Japan probably has higher morality than America when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know.
They may not got all the press clippings.
Sure. Dad, that was an hour of 40 people. We did pretty good, 2.5 minutes a person. Great predictions. We had a lot in common. We have good logic. I don't think anything that we said was too far off. I think it's all in the realm of possibility. I've been checking throughout these podcasts if anyone else has been signing, so it's like we can react to that live. Nothing else has happened so far on Black Friday.
I think most offices are closed.
I hope that's true. Thank you if you watched the previous video of our top 10 free agents. I would encourage you to watch all 6 of our offseason outlook series of each division. We already talked about the AL Central. I'm chomping at the bit to do that one. But do watch all those. We record 8 videos today on our Black Friday podcast. So please like the video, subscribe to our channel. We want to boost those numbers by the end of the year. And again, please follow us on all social media. We are at Pastime Podcast _ on Twitter and Instagram, and we are the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook. Dad, anything to close us out?
Have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening.
Hopefully you're thankful for podcast and baseball, because that's what
thankful for my son.
I'm thankful for my dad, my co-host, my partner in crime. So thank you all for watching, and again, can't wait for these big trades, these big signings to happen.